G'day everybody, my name is Lukey, and I'm a Streamaholic.
G'day everybody, my name's the Warship, and I'm a Streamaholic.
Well, no one's ever accused me of being professional. How's everybody going?
Hello everybody, how are we today? See, this is me not being in control of the stream. This is what happens.
This is what happens when you put an amateur on the dials, on the buttons.
It's a very shiny dome, Lukey. It is a very shiny dome, Lukey.
Thanks. I'm having a trouble hearing everybody tonight, or hearing you, Shippy. That rain's just started bucketing down on the tin roof, so hopefully no one else can hear it. Yeah, it's. I did have a hat on earlier for everyone else out there when I was just talking to Shippy. I took it off. It's a bit too tight on my big, huge cranium, so we're going bald tonight. So I hope you've been having a good week, mate, or a decent week.
No, it's been a good week. It's been a real good week. You know, I'm really happy because Tangelos are back in season, and they are my favourite fruit. And I've been ranting about them all over the internet. So yeah, anytime that I can get one of these things in my hands, it's a good day.
So what is a Tangelo for someone who does not eat very healthy? It looks like an orange or a mandarin, is it?
Yeah, it's like an orange, right? Except it has this nipple, and this nipple here is the key.
Yeah, okay.
The nipple is the key to everything. Essentially, you tear it off like a grenade, and then you're good to go. But it's like a super sour orange.
Oh, okay.
And I'm a big fan of sour stuff, so for me, this is exactly where it needs to be.
Yeah, okay. I might need to try one.
But they only exist for about 3 months a year, and then they're gone.
So right, okay. It's one of those type of things. Yeah, I've never seen anything like that. But I'm sure I've seen it and probably just walked past it when I often walk past the fruit aisle. I mean, I tell a little lie. I get a lot of fruit, but it's never for me.
Well, you know, I think it's a good idea to get some, especially for the vitamin C. You don't want to get no scurvy or anything like that, So I think it's a good plan. Even though I am a warship, I don't actually encourage scurvy, despite being practically a pirate. But yeah, I hope you've had a good week yourself there, mate.
Yeah, no, it's been pretty good. Again, glad it's Friday. It's my favourite day of the week. We've got the Streamaholics podcast, and it's the weekend, so two really good things on one day. So it's great.
Fridays are very much quickly becoming one of my favourite days, honestly, when it comes to streaming. Cool. It's just a lot of fun, and we just get to sit down and have a few drinks, just enjoy sort of what we're doing. So yeah, I'm looking forward to get to it. I think you've got some news to get out the way to begin with here.
Yes, we'll go straight to what we're trying to make some segments. So we're going to start with what I'm going to be calling Around the Grounds. So if you're a fan of sports or know what the Around the Grounds is in sports, is where they throw it around the different grounds to get the scores, is what's happening in other arenas around the country. The Around the Grounds on Streamaholics is basically going to be a little bit of a point or a little bit of a news from each of the different platforms in terms of content. It's not going to be just live streaming content, but I've got a few different points here, and I'm going to tell you what's going on in the world of content creation around the place, around the internets, and we'll see if any of it piques your interest and whether we want to discuss it a little bit more further. So this week, looking at the world of TikTok, I've seen that they've announced that they're expanding their video limit up to 3 minutes. It's been on trial for a few months, and they're now going to start rolling that out to the rest of the platform. So they started out with 15 seconds, a bit of an extension of the old 6-second Vine. They quickly moved to 1 minute. Now they're actually allowing 3 minutes. So I wonder what that's going to do to the content creation world. My second bit of news today, moving over to Facebook, they've started to offer the ability to monetize VODs now. So Facebook being a platform where you can add a few different types of content to your timeline. Now people are actually going to be able to send stars, which if you're not in the Facebook world, that's basically sending bits. You're now going to have the ability to do that on actual VODs as well, and set star goals and all sorts of things to try and get your chat attention. The other thing that has happened a couple of weeks ago that I thought was interesting, I've seen it implemented on Facebook this week, is Instagram affiliate deals. So if you're someone who creates content on Instagram, they're now making tags that you could put within your actual photo of your content, which actually sends people directly to links where you have an affiliate deal and can, you know, get a little bit of that moolah off the top, so making it easier for people to buy stuff through your affiliate links. And I've seen that on Facebook this week actually too, where actually a Facebook gaming creator it was 3 or 4 photos on an album of his new merch, and basically had the little tags on his merch, and when you clicked on it, it dropped down into his store at the bottom where you could purchase it straight through Facebook.
Yeah.
The fourth one, which I found was very interesting, I looked this one up today, and some of you may be more across this platform than myself, but OnlyFans is going into an area called OF.TV, and it's supposed to be a safe for work side of the platform, where people are producing free, I think it looks all free at the moment on that side, podcasts, cooking shows, whatever type of show that you want to put. I mean, maybe Streamaholics could be on there, but they're offering a safe for work. But let me just tell you that initially looking at the site, people are still wearing very risque sort of attire. To give you an example, one of the main shows that was promoted was called Coffee and Cleavage. It was a podcast show or a talk show with two women on the front page of OF.TV. But there was some other content there. There was people doing like gym instruction videos and that sort of thing. It seemed to be that they were all linking their free content on the Safe for Work side straight back to their OnlyFans account. So I don't know where they're trying to move with that, but that was just some interesting news that I found this week. So what do you reckon about any of that, Shiffy? Any of that sort of pique your interest?
Yeah, hell yeah, definitely. Like, there's a few things there straight off the bat that really, really hit for me. Like, for number one, my TikTok, even though I barely use it, I'm really trying to get better with it. Like, really trying to get better with it. And hopefully once the new studio is fully built and up and ready to go, hopefully then we'll have a lot more chances to do fun stuff there, because we'll have a green screen wall and a bunch of other stuff that will allow for more content. Because it's really important to have your fingers in every pie, like I've said before. But I've actually got the 3 minutes already. It's already been rolled out to me. So
it's already there. Yeah, sweet.
Well, it's a beta for a lot of people, but I've already got it in my one there. So nice. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Maybe do like some kind of like little short form skits. It'll be really fun. Personally, I don't really vibe with like the 10 to 12 to 15 second like Vine era stuff. Yeah, it just doesn't work with me. But that being said, you know, like allowing a little bit more time, I think that's really, really cool. When it comes to the Instagram stuff, huge. Awesome, amazing. As someone who's just entering into a bunch of brand deals and a bunch of affiliate deals, I don't really vibe with affiliate deals straight up as the ones that are like, you know, hey, if you sell X amount to your community, then you'll get this. I don't really vibe with that too much, because it feels like you're gouging your people, you know. But that being said, like the concept of being able to say, all right, so here's my legitimate brand deal. If you guys want to purchase things, it'll take you straight to a thing that says, here's 30% off, you know, whatever it is. And the code will already be populated and all that kind of stuff. That's huge. That'll help smaller creators become bigger creators really, really quickly. So
yeah, that's what I thought. I really like that idea.
It's a really cool idea. Yeah, it's been a long time coming, honestly. Instagram is as big, if not bigger, than the sort of the major three in a lot of ways, because it's so much more accessible. It's just a picture, or a short video, and it's everywhere. It's like Facebook without all the wank. You know, because it's just the pictures, you know, rather than complaining about going to Facebook and being worried about, you know, getting stuck looking at pictures of cats and stuff. It's just the cats. There's no birthdays in between, no other rubbish in there at all. It's just the cats. Yeah, I think there's a lot of potential there for a lot of content creators to make good money out of that, and to get a lot more exposure and for their vision and their brands as well. So yeah, I think that's really, really, really cool. And then lastly, the OnlyFans thing. I mean, that's not a space that I live in. It's not really a space that I at all. But that being said, like, concept of like a safe for work version of it, where it becomes more about content creators and less about getting all that stuff out. I think that, like, It's probably a good thing. It's a good thing for people who don't want to use Patreon. It's a good thing for people who don't want to use Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Like it's a way, as we discussed last week, it's a way to bridge that gap between getting all your content in one spot and still being able to like monetize it, but also be able to get your community behind it. Especially with Twitch doing what it's doing with the way that the pay system is and the evolution of that, it might actually be a thing that becomes a competitor because it's already like it has to be in the top 5 as far as like websites of influence go for content creation because obviously the porn industry is so big and the amateur porn industry is so big, especially with the recent regulation changes with major websites like Pornhub, where you can't upload things if you're not at a certain level, like as far as like independent film goes. So being able to, them being such a large majority of content creation, it has to be included as well. You can't dismiss that because it's not what you want to watch. You can't dismiss that because it's not, you know, mainstream or family friendly or your cup of tea or whatever it is. It still deserves a place.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's a really, really cool idea. And if people can monetize that and make it good for their business, then awesome. And if it ends up being really, really good for content creators, and that helps people like you and me, because at the end of the day, we can say, all right, guys, legit, here's my OnlyFans, but maybe I'll post a picture in a bathrobe every now and again, but most of it's just going to be straight up content. You know, most of it's just going to be straight up delivering content the way we always do, links to Discord, links to special offers, dumb pictures, you know, links to the Reddit, all that kind of stuff. And at the same time, the monetization's there. You know, it's like, okay, so
exactly.
Don't pay for me on Twitch if you don't want, but instead go support the OnlyFans side of things because I get a better cut out of it, and you know, it's better for everyone.
Yeah. Well, the reason why I mentioned it in the first place is because the way that they tried to, or the way that I read an article on it first, basically announcing that it was happening, and it did make it sound like they were trying to move things on the platform into a different space. By creating this new sort of space, which is kind of part of the same umbrella, but it's over here. But then when I went to the page, I'm like, well, initially, obviously, the people that are big on OnlyFans already now are going to be the first people moving into that space as well, because it's part of their ecosystem that they're already a part of. But I'm wondering whether you can be one of the first movers now, or whether you're struggling with content elsewhere and you can go over here. And I'm not saying produce the type of content that's traditionally on OnlyFans now, but using it like a new place for a type of show, a cooking show, an aerobics show, or whatever it may be, where the OnlyFans side, or the link to, because when you go to someone's page on there, it'll say under the description of what this content is, like cooking show, it'll give you the link to subscribe to that person. That link takes you to their OnlyFans page. And so all the ones where I was looking today, it would take them to what you'd traditionally find on OnlyFans. But I'm wondering, like, whether that becomes like the Patreon side of your content. Like, here's some exclusive content over here on the OnlyFans that you can't find, but here's my free stuff to try and get your attention over here. Kind of like Patreon, but all video, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to doing a cooking stream with no pants on, like, you know, and putting that only on OnlyFans, and then having all the other content, you know, outside of that. But if there's a way to do it that, you know, say for instance, I think the best case scenario for something like that would be to have, if this is your cup of tea, and obviously it's not my cup of tea, but if this was your cup of tea, you could have your regular OnlyFans for your normal everyday content, and then I don't know if it works this way or not, but you could obviously have like a gated section, you know, open the velvet line here, come on through here to the over 18 section, and whether you charge more for that or not, you know, that's, I don't understand how that works, but I think the idea of having like a regular section where you can just promote content, and then whether or not you choose to do the other side of it, you have the facility to, because currently there's nowhere that has that model that exists. You can't post both non-explicit and then explicit content on Patreon, because you can only post the non-explicit stuff and everything else has to link somewhere else. So a brand that has the facility to facilitate both in one spot has the potential to be bigger than everything else going right now. If you could do Twitch streaming, if you could do streaming on OnlyFans TV exactly the same way I'm doing it now, but then also get dick pics later on, like, that's something that people people do want to be able to do. You know, people do want to be able to provide that. You would stop all of these hot tub streamers instantly if there was a direct link, a direct Twitch leads directly to the OnlyFans in the same website, charged a little bit more. You would absolutely.
In saying that, just hearing you speak there, I wonder if, I don't know how long this has been in the works, but I wonder if this OF.TV is a response to the stuff that's been going on Twitch, because they might not steal an Amaranth or someone like that who's making so much money on Twitch, but someone who's sort of halfway down in sort of the hot tub / ASMR,
absolutely,
they could be doing free content the same as the stuff that they were doing on Twitch, but now do it on OnlyFans. They might become the first big, like, well, I get ASMR or hot tub person on OnlyFans, and then they've got their exclusive content right there.
You take that one person who might be a middling person on Twitch now, and you give them a whole platform. You make them a superstar instantly in that category. Instantly. You can take someone who's middling, who has all the bells and whistles, who can do all the dumb stuff really, really easily. You take someone like that, and then you give them the whole brand behind them and just say, right, do this. Have free reign. No, you're not going to get in trouble. Play whatever music you want. You know, like you do that and game over. For that person, you won't have... The Amaranth will be second place easily. All those kind of people, they won't be in the front anymore, because not only do you have people who are there explicitly for it. It takes away all this Twitch is for gamers bullshit. It takes away all of that. It's exclusively there. You know what you're there for. You know what you're paying for. If you gave them facility to do the exact same thing they do on Twitch, except also add the explicit stuff, man, money. Absolute dollars.
I think it's a perfect opportunity for those people we're talking about that are in the middle. So we're not talking about like your top of the range, like the top of the tree ASMR or hot tub streamers. They're already making a killing probably on both platforms, but this probably opens up the door. It's the same as when other streaming platforms open up, like YouTube gaming and Facebook, like guys that were creators that were kind of in the middle creating the same content as everyone else can get deals on a new platform and skyrocket because they're first movers on a new platform, a new way to produce content and a new audience. So that's the kind of who we're talking about there. See, that's why I love these conversations. Just a little news piece like that, which I just found this afternoon, and we've already turned it into. We've hashed it out. We've discovered a whole new niche there just by talking it through. I love it.
And the thing is that absolutely people make money on both, but one of the things that OnlyFans has is a tiered pay cycle. So you can say, okay, so if you want basic access, you could charge people the same that you charge them on Twitch. You could say, $9 a sub, basic access, hot tub streams, whatever. But then you go up to like $15, $16, $17 a month, and you say, here's the explicit as well. And that takes away all of the extra stuff. That takes away needing to shill yourself on both platforms. It really, really does. It creates a situation that will give the people who do that and make that jump, it gives them superpowers. Like it really will. It'll push them to the moon. So I think it's really smart on their account. And like you were saying before too, with the first levers, every time I speak to anybody from Mixer, and you're in the category as well, but literally anybody from Mixer, they come back and they say, man, it is absolutely to get onto Twitch and try to make any kind of content. Because when I was over on Mixer, I would have 70, 80, 100, 50, 200 people in stream every stream, and now I'm pulling 10, 15, 20, whatever it is, and I don't understand it. And it's like, no, because you were first lever. Like, you were one of the people who went over there and built a community when you was less competition. And then you held it, you sustained it, and that's awesome. So if you imagine that, except in the porn industry, some of these people they'll explode. They really, really well. So I think it's a great move on OnlyFans. Yeah,
I think so. I think originally I thought it might have been, and maybe it will be. I was thinking that maybe they're trying to change the perception of the website altogether. But now I'm thinking that maybe this is a kind of a little bit of a response to the Twitch stuff, trying to get some people over for what this. Do you know much about like how OnlyFans started? Was it because the term OnlyFans doesn't necessarily mean explicit content. It's in my mind it kind of works like is it like a competitor to Patreon initially, and it just turned into what it turned into just by accident, or you don't know much about it?
It kind of always had a little bit. I'm pretty sure it always had a little bit of the old like sleazy connotation. Like,
Yeah, right.
I don't think it was taken over by porn. I think that what happened is around the time OnlyFans really started to gain relevance was around the time where Tumblr said no more pornography. And I believe that it kind of coincided. I believe that it became like a bit of a shift. Whether it was a little bit before or a little bit after, I believe that a lot of those people sort of just went, right, here's our new home. I don't think that there was ever like a situation where it started off innocent and then was tainted. I think it was always sort of given as an alternative, a way for people to make money, like a money stream for people in that industry. I just think that it just so happened to coincide with things like the collapse of Tumblr and the rise of Tinder and all of that kind of stuff. I think it just kind of fit itself into a niche really, really well. Overall, I think it's really, really cool. And the funny thing about our conversation today is we're legitimately about to shift focus on porn to family.
Yes, that's right. Great segue.
Yeah. Really, really great segue. So I posed a question earlier on essentially saying that we wanted to make sure that the family side of streaming was represented, because a lot of people, in content creation are quite young, but there are a shockingly large amount of people who are in their late 30s, early 40s, mid 40s, early 50s. Like there are people throughout the gamut. And as people of my generation grow older, the video games and that generation in general, people who grew up with games, as that generation grows older, and your one, which is at least 2 generations after mine, but as that generation grows older, we're still doing all the stuff that we've always done. We're still playing games. We're still having fun. And now we have families. Now we have a whole new set of responsibilities, and we're trying to juggle all that stuff with streaming and content creation and feeling like we're too old to do it and all of that kind of stuff. Like for me personally, we're less than a couple of weeks away from having a child. That will make in total 3 children that we have, 2 to a previous relationship and 1, this will be our first together. But trying to juggle that with constant content creation, streaming 5 nights a week, and then doing all this other stuff all at once, like it's a lot. And we kind of just want to have a discussion around juggling the family side of things and the Twitch side of things. So I just wanted to see what is your perspective on that?
Juggling the family, like it's a huge thing for me. Like I started my content creation journey properly, like when I actually finally started doing it, like it was probably in my early 30s that I started thinking about it, when YouTube was a big thing, and then switched to Twitch, not Twitch but live streaming. So we're talking like 3 years ago, so I was like mid 30s. I already had I think my 4th was just born, and I've had another one since. So and I own my own business, so family time has really, I've had to work all of my content in and around family time, basically. We've had to have some sacrifices there. First and foremost, what I'd say is that number one, you have to have a family and a partner that understands what it is that your dream is, or not even necessarily a dream if you don't want to put your head in the clouds too much, but just what your passions are and your hobbies are, and everyone has hobbies and everyone needs their hobbies and their outlets. And if creating content and streaming is your hobby or your outlet, even just to begin with, no matter what your dreams in the space are, you have to have that discussions with the family, and that has to become a big part of how you structure your content. And there will be some sacrifices on both parts. For me, it's been pretty hard to, I'm getting into the space and I feel like I'm older. Like I'm only 38, but I still consider myself like an ancient bastard when you're looking at the sort of Twitch, especially on Twitch. Like I really feel old when I'm looking at Twitch. But it's oh man, like if I could be coming out of high school, or 19, 20, just working my casual jobs or whatever I was working at. No, I was probably like 17, 18, working casual night jobs and stuff, like when this was a thing and we had the technology to do what I can do now. Man, I would put so much time into it. Like I'll be off to the races, just putting so much time into it. But for me now, it is very, very hard. Family comes first, obviously. So if it's going to impact on your family in a very negative way and something that can't be worked around, then it just can't happen at this stage. So but there is some sacrifices to happen. Like right now, when I'm producing my own content, I don't usually start until late. I don't stream until what do you go, 2 or 3 in the morning or something like that?
Some days, yeah.
Yeah, so I would usually cut it off by midnight, but I might start at like 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. Sort of kids are in bed. There's a little bit of getting ready time, chat to the missus, and then go live. But that's also why I'd only do it a couple of times a week. So for me, like it's the family really impacts on the content side of things too, and that can be frustrating sometimes. To know that you want to be creating all this content and having as much time as possible, but that's where the talking to your partner and really making sure that they're across what you want to do as well, and then making compromises is definitely the number one key.
Yep.
So
absolutely.
Probably rambled there a little bit about different things, but blah.
No, I think it was good. I think it was good rants though, because it makes a lot of sense. Because obviously, number one thing is that you need to have yourself a supportive partner. You need to have someone who understands what you're doing and the goal behind it. Because at the end of the day, you have these conversations where you sit there and you're like, oh, I had 100 people in my chat last night, and they're like, what does that mean? I don't care. Like that's a bad thing. Like you say, okay, so now I can't wake up at 8 o'clock to go to the market to buy strawberries because I'm going to be asleep until 11 o'clock because I've been up until 3 or 4 in the morning. You have to have someone who can be okay with that. You really, really do. And you have to be able to say, all right, so it's going to be hard for a while. It's going to be difficult. We're not going to be able to survive too well. We might have to call in favors, all that kind of stuff, especially if you're not in a position where you're growing quickly. But if you're passionate about it, then having a supportive partner there absolutely makes the world of difference. It really, really does change everything about what you're doing. And I'm lucky that I have one. I'm a million times over lucky that I've got somebody who not only supports what I do, but actually actively helps it, encourages it. She's an animator, and also she has extensive work done in video editing and things like that. Nice. There will come now that with the baby's almost here, there will come a time where she will start to do a lot of that stuff while she's got nothing else to do. Awesome. And it is. It's really cool. Having that support makes a big difference. And obviously, if you don't have that support, it's really, really difficult. But at the same time, people like Shotgun Steve in the chat here saying that single full-time dad of 2, you do still have there are a lot of things there that are difficult. But at the end of the day, you also do have the great benefit of being able to say, right, boys, time for bedtime, let's go bed, and then you get in. And you can start and you can work and you're able to do that, whereas it's like in someone like my situation, it's like, righto, I'm going to stream today. Oh, but we were supposed to go do that thing today. Shit. Okay, well then I won't stream today. So there are two sides to that coin as well. And I guess that when it comes to having family and streaming, I think the most important thing is just making sure that you have the right people that's supportive, because if they're not supportive at the start, then you're not going to be able to do it long term, unless you do it at ridiculously late when everyone's very asleep, and then you're able to sleep very little and then get up and do it again, and it becomes a real struggle. For me, in my position, it's simply easier to do it at nighttime. It's best for my time zone, for my community. But everyone is asleep, and that's a benefit. The benefit on my end is that I'm able to do the stuff that I need to do. And it's the same with the gym as well. On days where I'm not streaming, like tonight, I'll probably head to the gym, not long after this. I'm having a cheeky couple of beverages here while we talk, but that's because we do that every time. I'll give myself an hour or so afterwards, and then I'll go do that at 9 or 10 o'clock at night. Obviously, there is the conversation about where in the world would benefit the most from the streams being at the time it is. But for me, with my community, I've tested it across the board. I've tested it at late at night. I've tested it early in the mornings. And without rebuilding my community from scratch, which is something I don't want to do, because my goodness, that's a lot of work. I'll get stragglers. I'll get, like the really dedicated people coming in if I do a day stream. And that's awesome. And we absolutely love it. But I won't get like the people that I usually have in those situations. So yeah, it just works the best for me at the time that it is, and with the community the way they are, and my family the way it is as well. And that's kind of what this whole thing's sort of about. I guess there's another point to it as well, is that content changes when you have a family too, So, whether you have slightly suggestive content and you want to be able to use that as on the streams as a way to kind of push the content forward, there's a point where you can't do that with family. There's a point where you can't overly sexualize yourself and all that kind of stuff, which adds another layer again, a whole another layer again, because a lot of people, that's sort of the stuff they come to see too. And yeah, I don't know, I guess it's just really, really interesting to me, because people who don't have the family there and don't try to succeed in the same way, they still complain, but they've got all this world open to them. You know what I mean? Like there are people who I know personally who are like, how can I get as many people in my streams as you've got, Shippy? What do I do? What do I do? I'm like, do this, do this, do this. And they're like, oh, it's too hard. And I'm like,
yeah,
I have got a family here. No time. I sleep so little that my eye color has changed. It used to be green. What do you want from me here? You have all the tools, every single tool. You can do everything that I do, but you don't have to worry about having like family side of things. You can sleep when you want. You can sleep all day if you want.
Jealous.
You can work a day. Yeah. Like there's so much you can do that I can't do, and you are dragging your feet. You're dragging your feet now, and one day when you're sitting here my age and you still haven't done anything, then what? You'll have even less time and you won't be anywhere near as motivated.
Yeah, you've got a prime opportunity now while you're young and don't have all those responsibilities. Get stuck.
Exactly right. And look, I love my family, and I love being like the father and having that whole gimmick, like as far as like being like the head of the family and all that kind of stuff, and then the breadwinner and everything. But it's a lot of responsibility, and it's a lot harder to do this with that responsibility. Like absolutely. And I think like people like Bald Aussie Dad's actually in an even better position, because yes, content creation wasn't the thing that came early on, but now everyone's out of home. You can just sit in front of a stream as many times a night you want, and just as many times a week you want, and just get drunk and rant on people. You're in the prime position right now. Like it really, really is, because yes, family, but yes, they're not around so much. Responsibility is not so much there, so you can really push the other side of it, you know what I mean? So like that's almost enviable in itself, being on the other end of this when you've got more time but also the experience. Like that's another whole side of it. I think the hardest part though with family is the potential for sponsorships, the potential for going and doing things in other parts of the world and things like that, like getting into a plane and going to PAX and things like that are a lot harder when you're a little bit older, because you have to make plans. You can't just say, yeah, you know what, let's get in a plane and go. You have to make sure that people are being looked after and all that kind of stuff. And while that's entirely possible, it's a lot more difficult. But that being said, like you can still do it all. I'm right in the middle of a couple of big brand deals right now, just finalizing them all now. And a lot of them will take me other places in the world. But again, goes back to having a supportive family. It really, really does. It's all there. It is.
It just always comes back to that when you're talking about family, I think, is a supportive family and communication. It's kind of that's the foundations that you need for it when you're talking about family. And if you have a family, that can't not be a factor. It's got to be a major factor. There's always one story. I used to listen to a lot of the Professor Broman's podcasts on streaming and stuff. And he talks openly a lot about a previous partner he used to have who didn't support him. And to his credit, he I don't suggest that anybody do this, for starters, especially if you love your partner. But he doubled down on it and said, well, no, this is what I really want to do. And it was kind of his turn to follow his dreams after helping his ex-partner out follow her dreams, and the opportunity was there. He was starting to make some headway, and he ended up splitting up with his ex-partner. That's why I call it ex-partner, because it caused so much issues in the relationship that they ended up having to go their separate ways, and he was able to pursue his dream, and it worked out great for him. But I mean, at the end of the day, having a supportive partner sometimes doesn't mean, it's a hard conversation now, but sometimes it doesn't mean this is what I want to do, these are my dreams, this is what I want to follow, this is where my passions are, I want to give this a go, and then they say, oh no, that's never going to do anything, why are you doing that, that's stupid, gaming's for kids, and then it's a problem. Then you say, oh okay, I won't do it anymore. Then that's not compromise either, you know what I mean? So
no, not at all.
For me as a person, and I'm not telling this as anybody else, is sort of like, go and do this and go and stand up to your missus or your boyfriend right now and tell him straight to his face. It's a personal thing, but to me that would be an indication of like, well, you know, are you giving back the other way as well? Like, maybe you're not, maybe you are. If you are giving back the other way, and because it is a two-way street, so you that's part of the communication. If you want to follow your dream and passions of being a content creator and finding the times to do that, then you also have to be receptive to your partner's dreams and passions and hobbies as well. So that'll probably bring me to my next sort of point, and what myself and my wife loosely do and probably still need to do more of it, and that's because she creates content as well through her business. So it's coming up with a content schedule together, like and that includes me including all of my work hours in there as well, including family time. You know, this night's for her content, I look after the kids and do the chores. This night's for me, you know, and just sharing the load, because you know, you can't expect to go, when you have a family and a partner, you can't expect to be able to, unless timing suits it. Like yourself, you've got everyone asleep, you've got that time. It's up to you to decide, well, I can live on 4 hours sleep or whatever. Like, if you can do it, then that's your window, right? But if there isn't the window there in a different scenario, then you may have to compromise. Obviously, if you have one night, then your partner gets another night. She might want to go visit friends once a week or whatever, or you know, it becomes, that's all part of the communication, and some of the discussions you'll have to inevitably have when trying to work it out. And I highly suggest, if you haven't sat down with a partner and worked out a content schedule with them involved, get them involved. Like, make them feel a part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes a big difference. Like, honestly, not knowing when your partner's going to be doing stuff is frustrating in real life, in normal everyday life, you know, like not knowing when they're going to be going out for lunch with the girls or whatever it may be. Like, that's hard enough on a day-to-day basis, let alone when it's the work side of things. Like, it's easy enough to say, hey, I'm going to work now. That's how I treat it here at home with my partner. I'm saying, okay, look, I'm off to work, even though I'm only going to a different room. It creates a divide in the difference between doing the fun side of it and doing the work side of it. Yes, it more so, it kind of puts me in like a do not disturb mode within the family, you know. Like, once I say I'm going to work, that means you can't come in and bother me. Like, you can't disrupt what I'm doing, because now we're at work. And obviously, like, you know, if she ever wanted to, she could just come in, but it's more so like a mental rule, you know. Like, it's like, okay, I'm off to work now, I've got to go do work stuff. That's great. And it's really cool, because I treat streaming like a job, you know what I mean? Like, I do. I treat everything about it like a job. You know, why do I have this in here? I don't know, but it kind of fits the whole routine of what I'm saying. You know, I treat it like a job. I come in here and I get ready for the day and got my suit and tie on, and you know, get ready to go, because that's sort of how we treat it here. I don't get to wear this stuff anymore. I've got expensive ass suits in the cupboard right now, but I don't get to wear them because it's not my job. You know what I mean? Like, I don't do that as my work, but I treat it like it at the same time. And I think that's really important, because otherwise it just becomes you around on a computer in a room by yourself with people watching you. And there's a real negative connotation when it comes to that, when it comes to streaming, is just that, especially if you're not making any money out of it, especially if you're not like providing at all, there's this huge connotation that it's like, oh, you're just mucking around in your room, you know, like, you're just buggerizing around. What are you doing? Go and go get a real job. Well, that's a real thing. Until you're making money out of it, like that's like it would never happen, never be said here. But even from my point of view, I feel like that's something that might be a thing. You know what I mean? I'm just stuffing around in the computer. Even now, when we are making money, you know, I still feel that way because I'm like, how do I survive off of me sitting in front of a computer for 3 hours talking about people's problems or my problems or playing a dumb game or whatever it might be? I don't understand, but it happens. So, you know, yeah, it's weird. There's this stigma still to this day, and it was brought up really much earlier in the conversation in the chat. There was a stigma years and years ago with content creation too. It wasn't until your PewDiePies and your Markipliers and your Jacksepticeyes really started to make gaming like monetization really a thing, you know, like they would every single day, top of the morning to your ladies without fail, like, you know, every single day of the week. And they'll produce content, and it wasn't until they really started to pick up steam with viewership and watches and then sponsors and things like that it really became even possible. In the time before those guys, and even just the trick shot COD players, like, you know, the Phase Boys and everything like that, the era before them, there was never any thought that this was a real job. Even right. I would suggest, even with the Phase Boys, like the trick shot guys and all that kind of stuff, even that was just like, what are you doing? That's not work. What are you doing? And now those boys, all of them are worth millions of dollars. And people who come in on the ground level of those places are worth millions of dollars. And it's a completely different world. It's a real job now. It's a real thing, and people have to stop thinking that it's not, because it's as real a job as working in a furniture shop. It's as real a job as working in a supermarket or being a banker or whatever it might be. Like, it is as real a job, and there are so many different ways that you can make this your job. You know, content creation's huge. YouTube is massive. Twitch is enormous if you have the right motivations and you're doing it for the right reasons. Like, one of the things that I constantly have is arguments, which I'll get into later, a little bit later for a different segment, but I constantly have arguments with people about how come I can't do this or why can't I do that, and it's because they're treating it like a game still. And there's a big difference. There's a big difference between the people who sit down and they say, right, I love my community, I love the people who support me, but we're going to do it right. And the people who go in there and they just sit there and like, I'll just play a video game and just do it. And, like, a huge difference. Difference. And I think that's really, really important. You know, I think it's really, really important to kind of see that, because, like, you know, at the end of the day, it's the most popular job for kids these days. What are you going to do when you grow up? I want to be a YouTuber. What are you going to do? I'm going to be a Twitch streamer. But most of them won't. Most of them won't. Most of them will do the same thing that anyone else has ever done in the history of the world. Like, when it comes to, I'm going to be a movie star. I'm going to go to Hollywood and be a movie star. Like, every single one of those, how many of those kids actually go and do it? It's going to be the same thing with this stuff. Yeah, the exact same
new
thing.
Age, going to LA or going to Hollywood to try and...
It is.
Score a pilot.
And those
somewhere.
people... The ones who actually make it, they're the ones that work hardest. They're the cream of the crop. But there's going to be, just like there is with theatre, just like there is with shitty series on TV, Netflix stuff that doesn't work out, there's going to be people who try to replicate it and don't succeed with it. So no matter how popular it is and no matter how over the top people want to get into it and the interest in it, it doesn't mean it's going to work out any different than trying to be the next George Clooney. You know, like, it really, really doesn't.
No, exactly. And what I would say about that is that, like, the worrying thing to me about all the people, all the kids coming out and saying, I want to be a YouTube star or whatever, that's fine. Like, have that as your goal and your dream. But, you know, when we talk about the previous generation that wanted to be actors and would go to wherever the hotspot is for pilots or getting roles on shows to try and become the next big thing, and so many people did it and so many people failed because it's just part of the industry. There's just not enough roles to go around. It's the same with streaming. There's not enough views for everyone to become famous, right? And not enough like paying customers is what the only thing that's going to allow you to do this as a business at the end of the day. And we've talked about how to build the communities around and provide value, blah blah blah, about how, and that turns into monetization later, right? But the one thing that's worried me, I'm getting off track a bit. The one thing that worries me about the YouTube side of things, when everyone's saying that, oh, I've come out of high school, I'm just going to sit down and stream all day because that's what I want to do. is that they don't go in there with the right mindset of the actors and people that went to Hollywood back in the day. Those people that went to Hollywood and tried to become actors were working lots of hours. You hear about it all the time. They were doing shifts in restaurants and shit for shit pay. Like, they still made sure that they had their plan B, they had their money coming in. So if anyone leaves high school and says, I want to be a YouTube star and that's what I'm going to do, the same mindset. You still need to be looking after yourself and the people around you eventually, by making sure you have a plan B and finding employment or a part-time job, even something. You know, there's always scope for, like, I'll give this 3 to 6 months, or like a plan or a structure. But you know, that's one thing that I would say. Make sure that you've got something on the side. Make sure you've got a plan B that's on, you know, going to help look after you and pay the bills. Because at the end of the day, you need internet. You need gear to do the streaming. You need to be able to buy games. Before you're making money doing it, you're going to have to purchase all that yourself. So that's the only part that I worry about, is all the YouTube stars coming out of high school that are going to put all of their effort into that. But then, like you say, most of them are just going to sit there and play video games with their camera on in the screen. And we've already talked about that plenty about how that's not the way to go, and how that's not going to get you anywhere.
No, absolutely. Like you're absolutely correct. There is that it's definitely going to be telling in the next sort of 10 years, those people who really wanted to get involved in that side of things, and seeing how many of them actually go forward and do it, as opposed to those who don't, and then seeing the flack back on that, and what happens on the other side of that. Because I think that there's going to be a lot of people who assume it's going to work, you know, and there'll be the same people who used to go to Hollywood to try to make it in Hollywood and end up working in the adult industry and things like that. You know, it's going to be a very similar thing, except in a new version of it, you know, like this online content version of it. That being said though, it's a lot easier online. Like, we have a large facility to be able to do the same things. Like for me, my setup here, it doesn't look like your general sort of everyday Twitch person setup. It looks like it's a proper setup done in a proper studio, and that's because of the effort we put in to make it look as good as it can look. That's something that a lot of people could never replicate back in the day. You couldn't do that with the acting side of things. You couldn't make yourself look like you got pro headshots and all that kind of stuff unless you spent real money on it. Here, I could create that now in minutes. And I think that that's sort of a bit of a difference when it comes to the technology and the way things are here too, because like I said, it's a whole new world. And as technology advances, there are streamers who do better things on the fly than television shows. Like, there are streamers who have a better quality of their stream than cartoons. And like, there are even like VTubers there who have specific animated scenes that go from point to point, and they tell a story with their streams. And those are amazing to watch, because they're full on, but they're really cool. Like, they take a lot of planning and a lot of time, but it's all stuff that can be done in your house. Yeah, like, it really is.
Stuff that's out there. I love it. I love watching all those. All that stuff. I don't know if you're talking about people like Castlehead and Cardboard Cowboy is one that I love watching. Like, just amazing some of the stuff they can do. It's I'd heaps rather watch someone do that than play video games, to be honest.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is that the era of playing video games is not dead here, but my God, there's so much more cool stuff that you can do. And that's sort of one of the things that I was going to get to in a little bit when it comes to content online, because there's, you know, we could even move into that, you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, like, that's... Yeah. We need
a little jingle for this segment next, but we're going to go into what we're going to be calling Shippy's Rant for now. Like, it's going to be Shippy. I'm just going to open the floor to you, mate. Take it away.
Yep. All right. So essentially, my thing here for today's rant is that people need to stop gatekeeping streaming, because at the end of the day, it's what you want to do on stream is what you should do. So if you want to sit there and you want to play games in front of a very small audience, but it's games you want to play, then do it. You should be allowed to do it. There's no reason on the planet why you can't do it. There's no reason why you can't get in there and just do the games you want to do when you want to do them. Just like there's no reason why someone has never got to play a single video game if they don't want to. And that's one thing I see all the time on streams. I see people like, oh, how come you don't do this? How come you don't do that? Why don't you play COD? Why don't you play, Among Us with people on stream? How come you always play Jackbox? Why are you playing marbles? How come you don't play story-based games? How come you play too many story-based games? And the reality is that I don't give an absolute what you want me to do here. I'm doing the content for me. And just like you can do the content for you, and everybody else around you can do the content for you as well. Yes, Twitch, people like to see video games on here. They did. But more often than not, the most successful people on here barely touch controller the whole time they do it. Like, there are so many active, successful people on Twitch who have a good community, wholesome, strong community of people who give a about them and not their KD. Here's the hot tip, bro. No one gives a about your KD. No one gives a about your trick shot, kill shots these days. I don't care how good you are hitting a headshot from 500 meters. I don't give an absolute. The reality is that if I can provide a safe place for people where they can come to my streams anytime they want, have a good time, listen to music, have a few beers, whatever the case may be, then I'm doing my job right. But if you want to do that stuff, then you're doing your job right. It doesn't matter to me if that works for you, because I'm not trying to be you. I'm trying to be me. And when I do me and do my stuff, people enjoy that. And that's super, super important. And it pisses me off because the esports people do it as well, is that you're like, hey, I want to get around an organization because I feel like we can work together and we can support each other. And they're like, yeah, cool, we'll sign you up. And I'm like, okay, but bear in mind, I don't play no Rocket League. And they're like, okay, cool, that's fine. You don't need to play Rocket League. And I don't play no Fortnite. And they're like, okay, cool, you don't need to play Fortnite. And I don't play no COD. And they're like, yeah, you don't have to do that either. And then I get in there, I have 100 people in my stream every single night, and then they're like, oh yeah, but let's shout out this guy who's got 4 viewers every stream, who only plays Rocket League, doesn't say a single word to the chat except to ask him for money, and then I don't get a fucking look in. I just didn't censor myself there because I'm that mad, but I don't get a look in at all because I don't play your bullshit, because I don't do what you think is the best thing to do as a streamer. Whereas, who do you think you are to tell me what the better thing to do is? I have an amazing group of people around me who give a shit about what I do, who care about the people around in my community as well. Not just me, but every single other person in the community. And you got the gall to tell me that just because I don't play a stupid basketball or soccer ball game with cars, that I'm somehow less important than you? No, absolutely get. Like, there's nothing in that's fair at all. And then the worst part is because everyone is so scared that if they don't agree with the people in charge, I see those guys get their little status on the Twitter tweet, and then I'll see them with like 200 likes because everyone's too terrified not to give a shit about that stuff. When the reality is it's real clear that no one gives a shit about it. I don't even need to censor that word. I just push the button anyway. But it doesn't work like that because no one goes to the stream. It's really, really frustrating because I know at the end of the day there are so many streamers, so many content creators who are passionate and genuine, and they don't even play games, or if they do, they play games they like. Well, why does it have to be that you have to play one of the games in the top 6 games, otherwise no one notices you? No, that's the opposite of what's true. The more you walk into that section, the less you get seen, because there are 9 million people. I looked it up, I did the math for real. There are 9 million people on this platform at the moment, right? And for me, where I sit on the platform, my percentage on the platform, we did the math the other day in a private Discord chat, there are only 800,000 people in front of me as far as viewership goes. That means that everyone else has less than 100 viewers in their stream. The rest of that 9 million, that 9.3 million people. And that means that if you're not one of the people who's doing better than me, you are in that other category, that the rest of that 98%, whatever it might be. what makes your stream any different from the other guy who plays Rocket League? What makes your stream any different from the other guy who plays COD? Like, there's nothing. So why are you telling me that that's more important than what I do when I don't do any of that shit? You know, it's purely based on some kind of like rule that's set that says that esports needs to rule all. And that comes back to the point at the very start of this rant about gatekeeping, because people spend all their time being so obsessed about what you play and the fact that you do or don't play games that they forget to see that, no, you're actually really good at doing this other side of this content creation side of things. And it pisses me off that the people who are shithouse at it get opportunities in front of people who aren't. And that's my rant.
Bravo. That is my new favorite segment. I don't know about you guys, but that was bloody awesome.
Yeah.
So we've got one segment. That's good.
we got one official segment. Absolutely.
I was hoping that you were going to say rant over, because I had no idea when it was going to finish. Then I didn't know it was going to go forever, but I love it. What do you reckon, chat? What do you reckon? Shippy's rant here to stay?
I think we may have to do it more. Absolutely.
Yeah. I've got the perfect background music in mind already for it.
It's just going to be angry music, isn't it? I don't know. It really does frustrate me, because I've been in a bunch of orgs. I've been in a bunch of communities that they promise things. They promise that you're going to get all this support, and that, you know, don't worry, it's going to be okay, and we'll look after you. And I mean this with no insult and no hyperbole, but every single one of those, I have been the number one contributor the entire time I've been there. Whether that is by sheer volume of numbers, looking up on Sullynome, average viewership, followers gained, every single category, I've always been in the first place. And the only time I wasn't is if someone got follow botted, because I never used to get follow botted ever. And the thing that frustrates me is that I would bring that information to them. I'd be like, hey, look at this. Why are you doing nothing with this at all? And it would shit me off, because like I'm not, you know, I'm not saying I deserve it or I'm entitled to it or anything, but I'm saying you always talk about how hype and clout and energy and all this kind of stuff all the time. They all talk the same. It's the same language, every single one. But then when someone comes to you with all of those things, genuinely, they just don't care, because it's not what they want.
Yeah, it makes you wonder. Makes you wonder what they're doing, what their actual goal in all this is. Obviously, it
really does.
Like what you're saying, it's just obviously they want 100% like esports people, and that's got to be it.
Yeah.
But then to not even take advantage of somebody who's actually creating good content and bringing eyes to their platform. Makes you wonder.
Like the thing, sorry, just to cut you off there, real quick, is there's like one of the big things that I tried with this Anchor Club, like with this stream team that we've got now, was to find a way to show that it could be done. Because since everybody who's joined the Anchor Club, with the exception to people who are already middling or on the larger side already, with the exception of like maybe 4 or 5 people, every single member of the Anchor Club who has come into the stream team, and there's like 117 at this point, I'm pretty sure, that every single member of that stream team has seen at least 100% increase. There are people who have had 800% increases in their viewership, in their follow rates, all that kind of stuff. And it's not for any other reason that we care. I'm not sitting here throwing out like shout outs to everybody on Twitter. I'm not sitting here promising the world. I'm not saying, hey, we're going to get a Gamer Sup sponsorship and y'all are going to get free new cars and none of that stuff at all. All I'm saying is that if you see a member of the community around, go hop in their stream, go say hello. You might meet your new favorite person. You know what I mean? Like, and that's all it is. That's all I ever asked from them. All of the other orgs, that's all I ever asked.
Yeah,
and it was
like
never happened.
It's probably in a roundabout way like your bad experiences that you had with other orgs has been a good thing in the long run, because it's made you realize what sort of a community you want to be a part of, and you've just gone and created that community. And so the culture that you've created in your community is an example of what people can do if done right on Twitch or on whatever platform you're on in the content creation game. Yeah.
Like, there's no reason that it couldn't have been this way for everybody. There's no reason that everyone can't do this. It only comes down to the one thing that I firmly believe doesn't exist or shouldn't exist in streams, and that's ego. Ego has no place here, and this is proof of that. You know, it has no place here. I had a conversation the other day as a side rant. I had a conversation the other day with someone who was like, well, how do you get more people in your stream? And I'm like, here's the big hot kicker here. Nobody in this stream at all owes you a single thing. Nobody does. You don't own your stream. You don't own your people. If they don't want to be there, they don't have to be there. If you're not engaging with them in the way they want to see, they won't be there. The reality is that nobody owns anybody here.
Yep.
Nobody is obligated to be in your streams. Nobody is obligated to care about your streams. And if you just go, well, I've got all these people, why don't they come in? If I said that, I should have 4,000 people in my stream every night. You know, like if that's the way that it was, that's how it would be. But it's not, because these people, they have lives. These people, they might have followed you because they want to see you do well, but they just can't be in there. These people might not even like you too much, but they keep the follow there because they know it's important to have the follow there. Nobody owns you though. Like, nobody owns me. I have a new app on my phone, which I really do recommend for anyone who is looking to support their friends. It's called Streaming Yorkie. And what that does is it actually lurks for me. I have a few names set up in there, and I don't do the lurk. All I do is I go, okay, open that up. I tap the button, it starts, and then if I'm sleeping, I can still be supporting.
Yeah, cool.
And that, to me, that's really, really useful, because there are a bunch of people who I can't get to. But I spend a lot of time during the day getting through all of this, you know, like going into everyone's stream and lurking and trying to chat. And that point that I made earlier about being the person in your stream that you want to see in their streams, you want to see in your stream. I've made that point 100 times on here so far, I feel like. But it's true. It's true. You want to be that person that, you know, you get in their stream, you're like, hey, what's going on? How you doing, man? How's your stream going? You know, what are you playing? What's going on with you? How's your day been? So that when they come into your stream, they do the same thing. Yeah. You know, because you care about them, so they care about you. And it's not manipulation. It's genuinely making a rapport and building a friendshandship. And like that's, to me, that's number one.
It's part of the community building part of it, the peer-to-peer sort of branding that you've got within your community, and other people can have. Like, everyone's got their own sort of personal brand or brand around what they do. Yours is very, very community orientated, and so that's why you're thriving, because you're doing this right. You've found like what you're good at. Like, some people, and I'm going to put my hand up, I don't feel like I was ever really good at building like offline community. I had pretty good active chats, but I was never good at bringing them away from that and having them there offline, in terms of like a Discord or something. That's something that I know that you're exceptional at. But going back to the being worried about why people aren't coming, maybe you've got a heap of follows but people aren't coming back. That's like the whole challenge of being a content creator and a streamer, is like, if you've got people that have come but then they've disappeared and now your viewership's dropping or whatever it may be, that's the challenge. It's not on anybody else. Like, if you're on a Facebook or a YouTube, people start screaming about how the algorithms changed or whatever. If you're on Twitch, it's whatever other reason, there's other people are stealing my views or whatever it is. If you start to see your viewership decline, or you can't grow one in the first place, that's the challenge, and you've got to be up for it. The mindset has got to be there. Like, I'm going to find the content that brings value to these people, that makes them want to be a part of my community. And if you don't have that mindset in the first place, then for starters, like, you're not going to go very far, because you're going to let the numbers get to you. Whenever you see a decline in the numbers, oh, that's fine. I've lost people that don't want to continuously rock up, and some of them might keep returning. That might just be how they consume content. But the people that rock up every single night and then all of a sudden start dropping off, well, then there's something in your content there that they're not seeing value in.
Exactly right.
In continuously. And whether you're a streamer that's solely based on entertainment, or you're based on community, or you're based on creating a big bubble of positivity, or whatever it might be, or whatever it is that you've drawn them in with, either that's got old, or you've stopped providing it in some way. So continuously evolving and wanting to improve and finding the new things to bring people value and more value and entertainment or whatever it is, is always like, it's always got at the forefront of your mind. You always got to have that mindset. It's nobody else's problem that you're losing viewers. Nobody is. Twitch hasn't just looked at you and go, oh, well, I don't want anyone to watch that person. Quick, let's turn notifications off, whatever. Every platform has its issues. Every platform has its pros and cons. You have to work within them. And the only thing that you have control of is your content. So you just got to have that mindset.
I think you pulled it, like you hit it right on the head, but you didn't say the thing that you should, like, really at the end there, because it's no one else's fault but your own, and that's the word you were skating around. But it is, fault is the word, because at the end of the day, if you don't make changes and you continue to do what you're doing and you are stubborn about it, pig-headed about it, is entirely your own fault. Nobody else is responsible. Like, nobody else is responsible for it. But if you choose willingly to do the same shit you've been doing this whole time, expecting a different response, that's madness. There's literal madness. And at the end of the day, you know, if you're worried about not having your views, you're not worried about having the content you need to have there, that's you. You need to change it up. You need to do something different. If you had a real good moment with a whole lot of people in here, a whole lot of people in your streams, and we're having a great time, and then all of a sudden they go away, then change with them. Do things with them. And, you know, like for me, like you were talking about community before and growing a community, they are honestly my saving grace, because I spend so much time in my Discord. My Discord has hit 600 people at the moment, and it is constantly pinging. Like I've sometimes I'm not even a part of conversations anymore, and that comes down to streaming as well. Sometimes I'm not even a part of the conversations happening in chat, but that just shows that there's a strength there in a community. Yeah, absolutely, and I'm so happy for it. I'm so grateful for it. So what we want to do with the situation is that if you're having a problem with your streams, there's no reason you can't say, hey guys, thank you for caring. If you continue to do so, please tell me what I need to do, because I feel like we are losing touch of what we have. And I'd like to continue that. I'd like to be able to, you know, provide content that you enjoy, even if it's different content. You know, like, I'd like to be able to provide stuff that you like. What am I doing that you don't quite like at the moment? You know, and you never accuse them, you never blame them for anything. But let's say, right, guys, how would you feel if we played Resident Evil? Or how would you feel if we played Jackbox? Vote below, and we'll do that for a bit, you know. And then you look at the community, you look at the numbers, and then you make a decision from there. And if you're loyal people, like, here's the thing, here's the kicker, because as much as I love my loyal people and I adore them, but you cannot strictly listen to them. Like, you have to be able to listen to the wider community. Because if you say, hey guys, am I doing a good job? The loyal people, they're always going to say yes. They'll always say you're doing a great job there. Do what you do, and you'll do really well. But if you're looking to grow, you need to look at the people who maybe have been there twice, maybe have been there 4 times. You've got to look at those people who may not have been there, you know, for as long as others, because they are still learning about you, so they'll give you honest feedback. And I think it's really important to be able to get both sides of that coin, because yes, you definitely adore and respect the conversation that people who are super loyal to you will give you, because it's still got merit, it's still very, very true. But you want someone who's going to say, hey man, I ain't going to sugarcoat it, you know, I ain't going to talk, I'm not going to talk to a point where you feel like you're talking. I'm going to talk from my perspective, and my perspective is you need to play less of this or do less of that. And I think that's real important as well. So when it comes to that stuff, it's just it's frustrating again, because people who I see do nothing at all, but change their stuff at all, they're the ones that complain the loudest when nothing get better for them. You know, nothing gets better. And like, well, how come not? It is exactly that meme of the guy shooting the guy in the chair. It's like, you know, I have no viewership, change something up, boom, what happened? You know, like that. That's what it is. It's maddening. And I could do another rant completely on that as well.
Sounds like it.
Like,
what I was going to say about the community side of things, it sounds like, and I think this probably comes down to that communication side of things again, when you're talking about your loyal viewers and trying to listen out to what the wider community and how to grow sort of, by moving into new things, having the communication with your loyal viewers all the time, whether it's in a Discord or not, and saying to them, hey, because they're going to rock up no matter what you play. That's why they're the loyal viewers. So they probably don't really matter. Or they matter, but they'll probably rock up no matter what you play, is what I mean. So having the just conversation with those sort of loyal people and make them a part of the discussion. Say, hey, like, you guys, what do you reckon is the best? Which directory should we go in? What games do you reckon we could try out as a stream to try and bring in some new people? And I'd really love for you guys to get on board and be a part of that, and hype everyone up when they come in, because you guys are the ones driving this community, and they're a part of it. And you see it so much with some of the bigger streamers or even medium streamers, like their loyal community and their regulars. They're part of the stream. I mean, they may be subbing some of them to be a part of it. The ones that can afford it, but they do feel that connection to the channel, and they like to feel like have some sort of controller. You don't give your viewers 100% control, but they like to feel included in the decisions if they're loyal and they've been around for that long.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It just like the control thing instantly makes me think of my my super VIPs and my my moderator control as well, because in those circumstances, like, it's important to reward your community, So for me, I have a thing on my stream, a channel point redemption, which is 100,000 channel points, and that gives you super VIP, which is essentially the VIP diamond. But then on top of the diamond, it gives you a sound cue that you can trigger anytime you want in the stream, and nice. it just gives those people who really dedicated, it gives them something to work towards, and do something with those points, because I've got a whole bunch of memes on my stream, everyone knows that, but there are a few really thoughtful things in there as well. So being able to sort of bring that balance is super important. And then that extends as well to being able to go into the Discord and say, hey guys, here's this thing that I want to do. And I'm honest and upfront. I put my heart on the sleeve every time I talk in Discord. Some days I'm like, I'm having a shit day. I'm having a really shit day. All this stuff happened. I don't know how to handle it. Would you guys like to get into a Discord stream instead? Just have a chat in there, have a hangout in there, talk about what we're going to do for the next couple of weeks. And just kind of get around each other. And sometimes that's the best option, honestly. Sometimes that is. And even not just that, but like, I've got a mental health section in the Discord as well. And I'll often just go in there and say, hey guys, I'm having a bad day, and this is what's happening. Because it's important for the people around you to remember that you're a person too.
Yeah, it is.
Super important. And there are days where you might not feel like streaming. And there have been days really recently. In fact, I took Thursday off. And I never break stream schedule. It is a very cold day in hell on the days that I don't stream, on the days I say I will. But I took Thursday off, and I just put a message in my Discord saying, hey guys, I can't. Today, I'm just not. My mental health is not having a good time, and I'm struggling a little bit. Would you guys mind if we held off on Thursday? We're going to do the Saturday stream anyway for the 1 year stream anniversary, as well as the baby shower, and I'll just deliver the best content I can at that time. And that leads me to go off and buy stupid things, like really stupid things that are going to be very horrible for me, and I don't want to get involved in. But that allows me to do stuff like this over the course of the next week, and. Because tomorrow we have that. This is not good. This one is not. This one is bad. This is bad. I know Exus probably isn't here at the moment, but lives not too far away from me. I'm going to try to finagle him to come over, and we're going to set a timer, because there's a 15-minute timer on these things here, these Savage Gummy Bears, and it's the first person to break and have a drink and put a timer up on screen and do that and hope for the best. But yeah, there are so many like. What I'm trying to say is there's ways to incentivize the community side of things. There is ways to, get around the community. We both heard who's winning that. I would die. You are here. Well, there you go. Come over tomorrow. But there are ways, there are ways to incentivize like the friendship side, the loyalty side, and there are also ways to reward people for being those people, and that's super important to me, and that's why we have things like the stream team. If people want to join that, as long as we know them, they're more than welcome to come in. And then once they're in, they have the special section there in the Discord, and that one has things like the resources, has touch portal tutorials, it has DMCA free music all that kind of stuff is all there waiting for them. And that's a way to say thank you. That's a way to say, hey, I want you to feel the way that I feel. I've been saying that a lot lately. It's just like, I'd like for you to have 100 people in your streams so you can feel the same way that I feel in my streams. And that's I can't awesome. Make you do that. You know, I can't make you do the content. I can't make you do what you need to do, but I can help. I can get people to help as well, and people like Exus, people like Tio, people like Cockle. There are so many people who are part of that stream team who, without a single word, have just gone and created a bunch of resources for the team. And I think that's super important too. Like I said, having a community is not for everyone. Having like a proper, full-on, fully fledged community. Some people I know don't even have Twitter, you know, but having a fully fledged community will definitely make a big difference when you're streaming. Because at the end of the day, people want to talk to the famous person, even though it's not really fame at this point. People want to speak to the television and have the television speak back. No matter if you're someone who's been streaming for years with millions of followers or someone who's just been doing it for the first time. People want to talk to the TV and have it speak back to them. Like, that's just
so cool.
That's the whole thing.
But for anyone out there who's like trying to work out how to provide that community side of things, like you've just given some examples there. That's what brings people to your community, and that's what keeps them hanging around, because you're providing them with value and you're making them feel valued for being there. So,
look, there's nothing magic about that. Everyone can do it.
You can all find your own thing.
Absolutely. Like I started from nothing. This is the thing that I spoke about on my on a Discord post recently. Actually, I spoke about I was kind of reflecting on my time in streaming, and what I said is that this time last year, because we're actually just over the Streamiversary technically, but because I'm dumb, I didn't figure that out until it was too late. But I don't think we were affiliated at that point. I think we only just started streaming. On the day that it happened, we well, I wrote that. So this time a year ago, I had an average of 6.8 viewers with a max of 10. And then on Thursday night, I had a viewership of 88 with a max of 115. Like, nice. So you can do it. You can. Like, everyone can do it. I started with nothing. Like, when I first started streaming on this day a year ago, back then on that post, I was 4 away from 50 followers. Like, and then on the same day, we just got over 3,600 a year later. So like there's no reason. I didn't start with like 1,000 followers. I didn't start with like a bunch of clout, knowing what I was doing. I didn't even start with good quality cameras and stuff. I really, really didn't. I started with the bargain basement stuff. There's no reason you can't go from there to here. Like, no reason at all. The only person that's holding you back is yourself.
Yep, that's right. You just got to get in there and do it, and bring all your creative ideas to life, because you don't have to follow exactly what Shippy or anyone else is doing. You kind of got to find or use those as kind of like the skeleton of what you're going to create, and try and find you've got to put the meat on the bones, and the meat's got to, I don't know where I'm going with this analogy now. No, just forget about it. That's just gone. That's just gone to weird places. You'll find your own sort of. You'll find your own sort of. You'll find your own sort of. I'm just not even going to talk anymore.
You'll find your own niche. You'll find,
that's
absolutely.
The word I was going to say, and then I'm like, do I say niche too much? There's something else there.
But that's at the core of it. That's what it is. You'll find like the thing that makes it successful for you, or the thing that makes you happy streaming. Because again, it doesn't all have to be success.
Yeah, that's right.
It doesn't all have to be, all of a sudden you're famous and you've got 100 people, 200 people, 300 people, 4,000 people in the stream. It doesn't all have to be that. Sometimes you can play just because you want to play. It is okay to just play. And we hammer that home because it's real true. Like, it is okay just to play. It is okay just to enjoy the streaming, enjoy that side of it. Mm-hmm. All I'm offering in these conversations is, if things want to go further and you want to do different, you want to do more, and the people who ask me, this is for them. For those people who want to do more, is that you have the tools, and the tools are right here for you. And I think that honestly probably leads into like the concept of the asked questions portion of the segments here, because there are a few. I've got a few on my side. I know you've got a few for yourself, and then a few from Goa as well. But But I think that there's a lot that we can really help with at this point. So I'll just sort of have a look and see if I can find mine. If you have one there, though, please let me know.
Yeah, so in the Discord, as part of the Legends Club, we put the shout out as usual for the people that are a part of our Legends subscription club. And Gamma came back with a question: what is the one item that you consider essential for streaming?
Okay, so I'll give a quick one. I personally think a camera is the most essential thing you can have. And that's because, again, people want to speak to the person behind the screen. People want to speak to, obviously, notwithstanding a computer to do the stream with. Yeah. I would say that the camera would be the most useful tool. You don't need a stream deck. You don't need any of the wank at all. You don't need it. You don't need the LED keyboards. You don't need any of that stuff. But a good camera, at least a camera, more than anything else. Doesn't have to be a good one. You know, I've got bad cameras here as well. It doesn't have to be the best thing there is, but having something that allows you to get face to face with people and have a conversation with people, that to me is the most important. Because again, it's about talking to the person on the other side of the screen. What do you think?
Yeah, I was thinking of the same thing. Like, obviously you need the computer and your capture card or whatever, so I was trying to go above that. We did a really cool video. It was one of the first ones we did as a content guide as part of the Legends Club. So if you're at the chatbot command just came up, or in the chat there about the Legends Club. As part of the Legends Club, you get exclusive content that you can't see anywhere else, and some of the teams sit down monthly to speak on similar stuff that we're talking about now, but with different perspectives, because there's different people in there. And we did one on the basics for starting to stream, and we had some really good tips in there of like the types of hardware and stuff that you can get away with the cheap stuff, and some ideas on how to do it. Me personally, I would say, because I don't know if everyone realizes this, but there are ways to actually, and everyone's got a camera on their phone, there are ways to use the camera on your phone if you don't have a camera for your stream. The one that I've always preached is, like, if I was to choose one or the other, and it usually comes down to camera or microphone, so audio or visual. I've always come down to like the microphone being the most important to me. I feel like if you had a really good camera, or even just a half decent one, just so that people can see you, whether that's your phone or a really cheap webcam or whatever it is, then if your microphone is really shit, then it's going to be really grating for someone watching you to actually hang around and want to listen to you, even if they can see you clearly. Whereas if someone's got a really sweet microphone and just a dodgy camera or no camera at all, it's not annoying to you watching whatever game they're playing or whatever. So it's a personal preference, but for me, I'd say audio first before visual. And if you don't have the ability, if you do go audio first but you don't have a camera but you have a phone, look into, there's ways to use the camera on your phone, whether through a hardware link or through sites where you can go live within like a chat room on your own and use the browser source from your phone to create a camera source for your stream as well. So there's ways around both though, but I would say my preference is microphone. I'd rather have someone have a good microphone than a good camera.
That's a really good point, actually, because, like, yes, there is. There's an app called DroidCam, which allows you to connect via IP address as well as hard connection to your phone. And most phones these days are better than cameras that I'm using. So there's honestly no reason that you can't do that and then invest in a decent microphone. Now, the good thing about microphones, especially for the people here in Australia, is that EB sells a lot of pretty decent ones, pretty cheap. And outside of that, they have Afterpay. I believe JB Hi-Fi's just got Afterpay itself as well. So for a decent entry-level microphone, you're spending about $300. Like, honestly, if you're going to go and get like a pretty good one, you're spending about $300. The first microphone that I had was actually the Blue Yeti X. So it was about a $300 microphone when I got it. I actually gave it away on stream after we got this one, which is the Elgato Wave 3. Also around about $300. So they're comparable as far as quality and price point goes, but you divide that into 4, all of a sudden you're spending less than $100 a fortnight on it. And hopefully, willing, you can get through to the point where at the end of your first Twitch month, you'll have paid enough you'll have been paid enough to be able to pay that off. Obviously that doesn't work for everyone. I was super fortunate when I first started streaming that I had someone come in and contribute a ungodly amount when I first started streaming, and that ended up making it very easy to get things like my camera, and he actually even bought the microphone and sent it over. So yeah, like it was a bit of a wild time. Not everyone has that, obviously, and but hopefully, even if you don't, at less than $100 a fortnight, you should be able to at least get there, with a microphone like that. And then just chip away at those things, try to have a bit of quality in the camera, try to have a bit of quality with the microphone, and everything else will come. The games side of things, yeah, cool. Most people can run Minecraft, do that. Most people can run Jackbox, do that.
Yeah.
Marbles is nothing, do that. Play games that you can do within the resources you have. Don't allow yourself to handcuff your own self and your own quality because you decide to play top level games without a microphone, top level games without a camera. Like, I would 100% say it's better to have the quality ancillary stuff like a microphone and camera than it is to have a quality PC that plays the best games. Because everyone can play the best games if they have the money for it. Everyone can. There's no difference. Like I said before, there's no difference between you and 9 million other people who play COD. Like, there's not.
And if you're spending money on games monthly anyway, or every fortnight buying new games, it's only going to take like a month or so of just holding off on the game so you can purchase some of the startup sort of hardware that you need in terms of audio and visual. So
absolutely.
You want to go to what are your questions next, or Blue Streaks asked a quick question in the chat there where you could get to maybe first.
That's an easy question to answer.
I think so. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say OBS over slobs. Yeah.
The question is for those who aren't in the chat is that pros and cons of OBS versus slobs. Here is as easy as I can put it. Slobs is shit. End of discussion. But honestly, the resources that Slobs uses is garbage. It uses a lot of resources on the PC. There are less plugins that you can get for it. I don't like Streamlabs in general, but that's a bit of a personal preference anyway, because I feel that the way that they treat their customers is no es bueno. But at the end of the day, OBS is a little bit more difficult when you first see it. Is when you first look at it, you're like, what is going on here? This is very intimidating. Please give me back my slobs with all my visual representations of everything and my ability to test all my widgets and all that kind of stuff. But when you actually get into the gritty of OBS, you can do some wild stuff. Like, there are some things that are just completely out of this world that I can do on here, and it is honestly all thanks to Touch Portal and all thanks to OBS and OBS Live. And like, some of this stuff is just like silly stuff, but being able to do something like this, the facility to do something like this, is completely different. And it would take so much more work to do the same thing in Slobs. And honestly, the resources it uses to do a lot of this stuff is completely way less. Like, it's so much less. My words are gone. It's so much less. And like, it would be silly, I think, to sort of choose Streamlabs long term. That being said, if what you're doing is basic and you're okay with just playing games, it's a great alternative. But if you want to make more of it work for you and be able to play high-end games at high-end resolutions, then you're probably better off to play around with OBS and learn that.
Yeah, I'd concur. I reckon OBS is definitely the better way to go, but it's so much like a lot of people, I started out with Slobs because it's a sort of a slightly easier interface to try and learn how to do it, because obviously when you start streaming, sometimes a lot of this is very foreign to you, or probably all of it. So I started with Streamlabs and I 100% agree, when you start adding more than just a gaming scene and things that pop up all over the place and animated backgrounds and your custom alerts that you might get made, everything like that just started really messing with my Streamlabs. So I'm definitely moving. Just to take you behind the curtain, I'm using Streamlabs right now, but that's because on a Friday nights and with the way that my streams are at the moment, I'm everything's very, very basic. So, but I will be 100% recreating all of my old stuff, which is going to take me forever, over in OBS. Well, I'm going to start from scratch, but yeah, it's definitely going to be OBS because Streamlabs, the resources, the drain on it is just amazing when you start trying to add anything cool to your stream.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing is that yes, it's really easy. It's very, very much so entry level stuff. But for someone who's never touched it before, like myself, when I first started streaming, I'd never touched any of this before.
Yeah.
But the second I started to learn, which was pretty quick, the second I started to learn about all the extra stuff, I just couldn't. I just could not just do that anymore because it broke my stream. The amount of times it kicked me off stream because I pushed a button, and just a stupid, simple button, even something like, so simple as like one scene playing here. It just completely bricked it, completely and utterly. Full restart, knocked me off of streams. Yeah, it's just not worth it. The frame rate drops are not worth it. It's definitely worth it. Definitely worth making the change over as soon as you can. You will see an immediate change. And the great thing is that Streamlabs really prepares you for OBS. Like looking at the way that it works, your studio modes, all that stuff. You start streaming. At the core, it's very much so the same thing. It just looks a little bit less good, and some of the functions are a little bit less user-friendly. But once you get a handle over it, it's 1,000,000% better. 1,000,000% better.
Definitely.
And using Stream Elements, I use Stream Elements for most of my stuff. So I use OBS with Stream Elements. I use Stream Elements for all of my my sub buttons and my ticker, which is actually a Harris Heller extension, but it's ran through Stream Elements. And things like my date time and stuff like that, that's all done through Stream Elements. You can also get some really good free overlays through Stream Elements. I don't use overlays personally because I feel like this is a better approach, a more intimate approach. Like my streams usually look more so like this than anything else. And it's very basic, there is obviously usually a sub section over there, and a couple of other options up top. Take them off when I'm doing this, and it's honestly, it's because at the end of the day, I think that the stream is about the streamer, and all the rest, all the bells and whistles, they're great, but they don't really make a better stream. Like, yes, I have memes everywhere. Yes, you can redeem a whole bunch of stuff. That adds to the stream. What doesn't add to the stream is a bright pink bar at the top and bottom of your stream that tells you like how many people have given you money. That's not conducive to me to a better stream. I'd rather just have the view that we have right now full screen. I would much prefer that.
And the meta's changed on that too. Like when I first started, it was all, and this is like 3 years ago, it was just starting to go towards like everyone has a green screen. And then at the same time it was everyone had all of the information up top there, everything. It looked like a NASCAR with all the stuff that's going on around the screen, that just getting in the way of everything, because you're only professional if you've got all of these things going on, right? Now the meta's starting to change around again, and the people that look more professional doing it now are just got clean looks like what you've got right now. In saying that, I'm saying that, and we're sitting on the screen here, and I've got shit everywhere. But that's just only because I was trying to fill in the space around what the Discord thing looked like, but I 100% agree. It's the clean look is definitely more professional these days. It's the new, it's come back around again, and the basic stuff is what looks good. And like for all the reasons what you're saying, it's more intimate, and it's gone back to no green screens. Everyone's creating rooms. So of course I've gone and done that. I've created myself a room this year. So you're sort of bringing people into your homes too, which is another part of the intimacy. In saying that, with my content, I'm going to be going back to a green screen, so that I might start the trend back the other way. Well,
as soon as I get this dual PC, so as soon as I get a second PC, or someone sends me a laptop, or I buy a laptop, the second any of those three things happen, I will be bringing NVIDIA Broadcast back onto my streams, but I'll be overlaying myself with a green screen of myself. So because I don't want to have I've got a physical green screen right there, but I don't want to have a physical green screen behind me. I want to be able to have my setup in front of me, but then I want to be able to use something like NVIDIA Broadcast because I've got the right amount of lighting and I've got the right spacing, so that if I do that, I shouldn't get too much of the feathering around my body for it. Right, okay. But that will allow me to do things where if I push a button, my background will go away and I'll be in a boat or something, you know, like, and still do that well enough for the length of the effect. So the ideal thing to do is to have both right now, because you lose a lot of quality when you're running from a green screen. So in an ideal world, any of those transitions that I will do for things like hype trains and stuff like that will have a slight like this, and then in that blink of an eye it will remove my main camera and turn on my green screen camera, and then in that blink, that's where the resources will move around. But yeah, it looks much better. This quality here wouldn't be achievable with a green screen camera. Like the level of lighting quality, the background, all of it wouldn't be achievable. Like I've done it before. In fact, most of my old setup, everything that I did before we moved house was me in front of a legitimate background that I could change all the time. I would do a bit where I'd be like, this is fine, and then all of a sudden the fire effect would appear behind me and there'd be the dog. But yeah, it just doesn't give a good quality stream.
So did you have, in your old background, did you have like footage or a photo of your actual background?
So I recorded a minute.
Okay, cool.
I recorded a minute on a loop.
Right.
So that because I have lighting and stuff like that, you just have to make sure the lighting doesn't shudder, you know. So yeah, you have to make sure that it changes naturally, like it would normally. Like for your one example, you'd have to get it at the exact right time, otherwise it would have like a.
I have actually thought about that as like when I'm not using the green screen on certain streams, when I'm just Lukey, that I would have something like that, and I've thought about that. I'm like, oh my god, how am I going to get it so it sort of loops, so it's exactly the same. Might have to like play it forwards and then backwards and then loop it. Honestly, not a bad idea. Honestly, not a bad idea, because that would definitely do what you needed to do. But yeah, it's just because of things like the lights being able to change color. I even had it to a point where I had redeems for 3 different colors that would actually change my scene to another nestled minute of recording. So I would do a recording as blue, a recording as green, a recording as pink, and then they would be in the background, so that if someone redeemed it, it would change my background to that color, rather than phase in and out like people can do with their their Philips Hue lights. It would just straight up change the entire background, and everything was the same too. Same
like. Yeah. It was essentially doing the same thing, just a little bit smarter, I suppose. But yeah, at the end of the day, like it's a lot of extra stuff. Yeah, it's a lot of extra wank, and the benefit isn't that great. You know, like it's not like it's world changing. It just looks a little bit cool. But then, that being said, this looks much nicer. This looks much more professional. It's warmer. People are much more inclined to hang out with it. Sure, I had all the wank everywhere behind me, all the Bowsers and all the, all the different toys and everything. And that's cool because people are like, oh, you really like this fandom. And I'm like, yeah, man, look. But at the end of the day, it wasn't as necessarily as good. Ideally, in the next setup, I'll be much more forward than I am now, and all of this will be way more in the background. And then I'll have a built up section where I have a bunch of stuff there in the background that people will be able to see. But it won't be, because in my old setup, I couldn't move my chair any further back than like maybe here, because I was literally touching the setup. So everything was right behind me to begin with.
Very cool.
Yeah. I think that pretty much covers the OBS versus slobs with a little bit of extra, because that's all we ever do.
So what have you got?
I've got here, how do you keep up with the chat without going absolutely crazy? Now, I want to throw this to you to begin with, because obviously on Mixer you had much larger viewership. And I want to ask you, how did you feel when the chat was going nuts?
Yeah, so my experience with chats that were going nuts was probably more so Facebook, and then on Mixer it was more because Facebook was where I'd sort of organically grown to a point where I had like a very active chat. On Mixer, I kind of had like a decent chat size, but only big because I was only on there for like 6 months before the thing was shutting down. So I hadn't got to the point of where I was on Facebook yet. So I would have those. The most nuts I ever got on Mixer was probably more than the most nuts on Facebook though. And on an extreme version, being part of a smaller Australian community on Mixer meant that there was a whole heap of partners that I was Mixer partners that I was part of their communities, part of collaborative communities around Australian streamers, and so I'd get much more raids from bigger streamers on Mixer than I would on any other platform. And in those moments, the chat was like super fast, super active. People, and on top of that, I also play a lot of first person shooters, or did at the time. And so that part of it, I would have probably been able to keep up with most of the stuff, apart from the people that write like a whole paragraph and expect you to read that in an active chat. But I'll probably be able to keep up with it for the most part, even though it's sort of just going pretty fast. Except the type of game that I was playing didn't allow for that. But in saying that, for someone who did play Call of Duties and Apex Legends and that a lot, I often got killed because I was reading chat, or I'd often be like distracted because I'm reading chat, and so I still tried to make that a part of it. But it is in terms of trying to read everything, when it's super active, even playing a game or in between games, or when I was playing it, it's still very, very hard to keep up with chat. You still have to try and pick and choose and try and read and try and respond to as much as you can, but you can't really get into a deep and meaningful conversation with people when 10-15 people are trying to throw different points at you, and it's not all part of the same sort of chat. Like we are right now, if it was pretty active, we'd all be talking together, so it'd be a bit easier. But you just got to do your best and hope that the viewers understand that there's an active chat, and you're not gonna get seen. And as a viewer, if someone misses your comment, don't get disappointed. Wait a couple of minutes, chuck it in there again. Hopefully that you don't get shouted down upon by any mod teams or streamers for reposting stuff, because you kind of have no choice, and when it's an active chat like that. But I will tell you that in those moments where my chats were super active and I was flying past the screen, that I couldn't keep up with the chat at all, and you just do your very, very best. As long as you're not ignoring chat and people can see that you're trying to keep up with chat and you're trying your best to get around to everybody, then but it comes with practice. I think if you've got a super active chat all the time, I think you'd probably become better at like skipping the comments that are just like saying hey rather than adding something to the conversation. What do you reckon, Ed?
I mean,
what's your experience?
So from my point of view, like my experience is that I would say number one is having a mod team that can pick up the slack, because obviously lately my streams have been sitting between sort of 90 to 200 people at the moment, and in those moments where a big raid happens or something like that, it's really, really hard. But that being said, my mods will always say, hey Shippy, read this up, and I'll be, oh, did I miss something? I better go back and check. Or alternatively to that, they will say, all right, so someone comes in and says, well, how come he's got so many hats on? And then the mods will straight up say, he's got so many hats on because every time he gets a raid, it puts a new hat on his head. He puts a new hat on his head. So rather than me having to answer every question that are not irrelevant, but questions I've probably answered 50 times already in a stream, the mods can control those things and put out those sort of little conversational fires without me having to do them myself. I do always endeavor to read everything. I genuinely do. And I typically do get around to almost every single message, but if I miss one here or there, there's never any issues with reposting, and there's never any issues with rereading them again. Sometimes you might feel embarrassed or you might feel intimidated because you don't know how far back the chat the delay is, and you might be like, oh, I'll repost it again, and then as you repost it, they say it anyway. But I think in general, most streamers are okay with a repost, and I think that honestly, paying attention to your stream and paying attention to your chat, like I've said from the very start here, is the number one. So I will take the time if I get a whole bunch. I will take the time. and then I will get through and I'll read every single thing that's been said, and I will try to respond to everything if I can. Obviously, there are times where some of the stuff I can't necessarily say back on stream, but that also follows into things like the banning of people too. Like if there's someone who's being disruptive or saying something really offensive in chat, and I go to read it, thankfully, because of my mod team, most of the time comment has already been removed and person's already been blocked, because it really is having a good mod team. Mod team is the one that I would put above almost anything else when it comes to dealing with a larger chat. And you see it in those massive streams. You see it in those 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 streams, where people go to talk and nobody, the streamer doesn't respond. They're just sitting there doing their game, doing these ones. But then their mod team will be like, oh, hello there, welcome into the stream. I just wanted to let you know that this person isn't able to talk right now, but I'll answer your questions for you. I'll tell you you're having a good day, all that kind of stuff. And I think that's really important too. Like as you grow, being able to have a group of people around you that you can trust and that can do the things, for you. Yeah. Like that's got to be the number one. It's got to be the number one. And aside from that, just keeping diligence, just keeping due diligence. I've got 3 screens here. I'm aiming to get 5. At the moment, I've got 3, and my third one is a vertical screen that is purely chat. Yes. It is nothing but zoomed in chat because I'm not wearing these bastards all the time. Right. It's chat here that I can just go boom straight away, and this one works in my periphery too. So I'll be sitting there playing games, and I'm looking at this screen here, but I can see that screen. So if something pings and the chat moves up a bit, I just go like this, and I'm like, boop, boop. Like that's all it is. It really is. It's nothing. It doesn't take much outside of that. And then I have my OBS in the middle, or Stream Raiders, or the music controls, or whatever it might be. And across this space here, I can see everything. So yeah, it's definitely something that I would recommend. It's definitely having a good setup, having a good mod team. That's it. Those are the points that I think that I would put above almost everything else. Yeah, the mod team sounds key. Like that's something that I probably struggle with, is that I only ever kind of made, like, when I was on Facebook, I probably had my wife as my mod, and that was it. Even with when I started taking off, I don't know. I didn't. This probably comes back to the whole me not having much of a community off of my streams, outside of my streams. Yeah. Which I think then also comes back to one of our earlier points this week about tonight about the timing and the scheduling and stuff. Because I have a business and a family and everything, that I do struggle to find myself being able to hang out off stream in Discords and Facebook group or whatever it might be, as much as what I'd like to be able to cultivate that community. So therefore I never had like a super amount of people that I really felt trustworthy that were there every single day, and so I never really moved into getting mods, and that would have really helped. So I think that's definitely the key. And then on Mixer, I had one, apart from my wife, I had one mod on Mixer, and she was someone who'd rocked up every single night, another streamer that I knew from the States, and she was already doing the mod things. And one time she was just like, she could see that I was getting a bit out of hand, and she kind of messaged me in the background, and I'd known her for a bit in different communities as well, not even just mine, and she kind of messaged me and was like, hey, do you want me to mod for you, because I can help out when you're getting in those. And I was like, oh yeah, mods, yeah. And so even just having that one person there for me at the time was great. So yeah, definitely, I think maybe the next time when I start attacking my streams again, I think listening to your advice there, I think I'm going to start adding more mods earlier on, I think, out of people that I can trust, that are there regularly. Definitely. Installing people you trust is number one. Installing people that you trust to do all the things for you, and to make sure that you're safe, because at the end of the day, it's really hard to deal with rough situations if you're in the middle of a stream. So if you're in a situation where you're currently predisposed and there's a fight in stream, or there's an argument, or someone's being racist, or whatever the case may be, it's really hard as a streamer to not just shut down and try to deal with that thing. Installing mods who can just deal with it for you is number one. And I love my mods. My mods have done nothing but keep me safe. Absolutely. And I wholeheartedly respect and care about what they say, and always want them there, because I trust them. They trust me, and we work together. And I think that installing mods is definitely number one. And that's not even if you're just worrying about a big chat, you know. That's it's even if you're just having a small community, a conversation, having your mods there to talk back to you sometimes might be the best thing, you know. Mods is definitely the number one. And then just being diligent yourself. At the end of the day, like everything we've said tonight, you have the responsibility to do this yourself as well. You have a responsibility to do it well. It's
especially handy when you're a controller console pleb like myself, because I'm sitting over here on my games like this. If anything's happening in chat, I'm like, hang on, I don't really know how to type really quick, and you're like, you have to stop the stream for like 5 minutes for me to delete a comment and ban somebody. So having even one mod there is definitely helpful if you're like myself, being on the console and not really being much of a keyboard person.
Yeah, and like having them there who can just take that work and that role away and just do the thing for you is huge. It's huge, and it really makes a difference too, because we all love our lurkers, we all love our people who are in the chat, but having a mod who really gets it, even a group of them, you know, a good 4 or 5 or 6. I'm lucky that I've got like 10 of them roughly who are super in, and no matter what happens, I'll get in. All of a sudden, shout out, Bestia, Death by Muffin, Exus, like the Specky Becky, Mim, it just goes down, and all these people just boom, and then they're like, okay, cool, all those people are in, and then they'll be shouting people out, and then they'll be responding to people in chat, and it's just. It's super important. Mods is so important. Yeah. And making sure that they feel comfortable as well is super important too. Because at the end of the day, you want to be able to trust those people with everything. You want to be able to trust them to do everything that you can't do at the time. Because like you said, being able to use a keyboard while you're playing a game is difficult. Yeah. Even if you're playing a game that has keyboard, you have to Alt Tab out, and then you have to hope that it's on the right thing so you can type the thing in time and then go back. But I'm like being able to sit here and play a game and being like, hey mods, give a shout out to Lukey please, and then boom, second later it's done. All that responsibility is gone. All of it.
Must make it so powerful too. Just can't wait to get to that point. It's like, come on, can you guys please get on that shout out, guys? Cheers.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I mean, very thankful for them. Very thankful for them. They're amazing.
They are amazing. But in your streams.
It's definitely important. Outside of that, I have maybe one. I think you've got another one, don't you?
I've got one more really from, because you've kind of covered the other one in the rants. So Kai has said in the Discord, what tech do you recommend for new streamers that can help with streaming? So since we already went with like what's the most essential one, this one I kind of take as like, if you could have any tech to help with streaming, what would be the best thing, like in your mind?
Yeah, okay. So for me, a Go XLR would be amazing. I don't have one, but a Go XLR to be able to edit your levels, volume, and microphone, to be able to change things like warble and bass and everything, as well as a few sound commands and the effects would be really cool. Outside of that, that's my number one. I think I have an Amazon wish list still. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure that's still on it. Outside of that, good lighting, key lights, legitimate key lights to be able to really light you, because you need to flood this shit with lights. The aperture on a camera, to work best as it can work, needs to have lights going all up in its business. So like if you think you've got enough lights, you don't. If you think you got them in the right position, you don't. You need more. Never. Get more lights now. But as far as the fun stuff, a big ass stream deck, honestly, that big XL stream deck, that would change my life. That would be life-saving to me. I don't have one. I've got this one here, and it's got 15 buttons, and it's got like 30 different folders on it, like of just different things. Yeah. Like there's a whole folder for memes. There's another folder for memes. There's another and even another folder just for memes. And then there's a folder for sound commands, and that's at least 4 deep as well. And then there are camera transitions, and then there are positions on the screen of my cameras, and then there are different scenes, and there are so many things. This tiny little box right now, the button that lets me go like this, the button that lets me cut music out halfway through, like
Why you being a dickhead for?
being able to turn stuff on and off, all of this stuff would not be possible at all without a good Stream Deck. I really, really wish I had the big XL one, because the big XL one would make my life so much easier. But at the same time, it's outside of my boundaries at the moment as well. But yeah, I would legitimately say that a good Stream Deck, good lighting, for the perfect easy setup, a mic arm, like a boom arm, something like this.
Yeah.
Real important. Good lighting, good camera, a bunch of screens. The soundproofing on the walls has made a huge difference to the overall quality of my stream, the way that it looks, as well as the way that it actually sounds.
Yeah.
And yeah, those are my things. A bunch of capture cards. I've got 3 at the moment for different things. There are so many things that people don't even think about when it comes to streaming. There really, really are. You sit there and you're like, shit, I have to get that too? What did that for? And then you realize it's really essential.
It's not a cheap hobby if you want to try and do it right, and you're always going to look at the next thing to buy, and it's just never ending, really.
What about for yourself?
Well, me, I was definitely going to say a Go XLR. This is the benefit of me actually having that plan B, or it's actually plan A. Streaming is my plan C. So having a job, I already have a Go XLR. I saved up for that, and I'm able to add my little toys. So I have 2 Stream Decks. So I have everything.
Yep.
But I know that because you can do things from a Stream Deck with shortcut keys, or you can even bring up the Streamlabs or whatever. There's other options on phones for apps that can do what a Stream Deck can do, especially if you're on Streamlabs. If you're on OBS, I don't know if there's an app you can use there. But there is other things, even if it's just keys, shortcut keys on your keyboard. Like the thing in the Go XLR, it's got so much in the Go XLR, so much hardware in there that to make your whole audio experience, or you can't do that with a phone or anything else, where like it's got so much things all plugged into the same thing. So without a doubt, if I was to say what could you not give up out of all the things that I've got here, the Go XLR is definitely the number one for me. I'm not an audiophile, and I don't know what I'm doing, but I definitely have, especially in the very early days, spent a lot of time making sure that I had a good microphone and a good hardware setup. And so I went through Roland VT3's voice changes. I went through hardware mix amp with processors and stuff, and for me, without a doubt, the Go XLR did it better, and then had such a large array of bells and whistles attached to it as well. It's just it's amazing. The only thing I would like more than a Go XLR is, like, at some point, if they're going to make like a Go XLR, I don't know what you'd call it, like a mega Go XLR with like 8 different sliders on it instead of just the 4 for the different audio channels and that. But yeah, for voice effects, I mean, I don't use them a lot these days, but I used to have stuff going on. Let's go.
Little voices like this.
Yep. That's really cool.
Like a little kid.
Well, this was my
Namdar. This was when I was the Nexus and I appeared as the villain on stream. This was him.
Like, there's lots of different voices you can do, and they all sound really, really neat. And you can customize them all. And yeah, like you say, you can throw down some audio tracks and samples on there that you can create yourself. That's just me. That's my voice.
Yeah.
You probably can't hear that. That's just on stream. But yeah, bring out Karen. Oh yeah, we did a Karen voice the other night too. I don't know if I saved it actually. I think I didn't save my profile, but I might bring out Karen in the after show again, Ravenscar. But
you can do things as well, like record portions of what you've said as well, can't you? So that you can just use that.
Yeah, and you can do it on the fly. Sometimes mine doesn't work at the moment, but all of mine are actually taken up at the moment. But there's 3 different buttons you can press, which on each of those buttons it allows you to save 4 different audio. Or and you can add sound effects off the computer or wherever you find them. On my instance or whatever, you can chuck them on the button or you can record them live on your microphone right now, and then you can play them back. It's got your button for swearing, and it's got the cough button, and and just the ability to slide up and down the audio for your game and the microphones and mute them. Like right now, I can mute us to the stream, but still talk to each other. Or you can set it up so it mutes it for everything, or there's a lot of stuff you can do with it. So I highly recommend Go XLRs, and I highly recommend checking out Shippy's Amazon wish list wherever it is. Get Shippy his Go XLR. Because I think for what you do, like the Go XLR would be like amazing to the stuff that you do. So highly recommend it.
Well, at some point, it'll surely be a thing. But yeah, I don't really have too much else, so I think that might be a good spot to kind of wrap things up. Lukey, where can they find you?
You can find me, thanks for asking by the way, but you can find me at Lukey Bangerz everywhere at the moment. So whether you're on Twitch or Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, Lukey Bangerz with a Z, because I'm cool. What about you, Shippy? Where can we find you out there in the internet?
Well, I'm the Warship everywhere, except for Twitter. And they can go and get, because still no answers, nothing at all. No resolution there. I can't even push the swear button, that's how mad I am. That we still don't have access to the Warship on there. It is still _Warship on Twitter, but everywhere else it is at the Warship, whether it be Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, Facebook, everywhere. So yeah, that's where we can find me, and I stream 5 nights a week here on Twitch, including, and in addition to this one here, and then once the baby is here and the schedules change as well, I will be back on Goa on the Tuesdays as well. And yes, Reddit as well, Vampiric Vapor. Thank you very much for that too. We do have a subreddit. It is funny, but very, very quiet. We had a recent resurgence of a bunch of hilarious memes. The goal will one day to be able to do a meme review, but for now, we're just having a bit of a fun time. So yeah, thank you so much for the stream today.
No worries, thank you.
Please be sure to stick around, guys, as Lukey does his thing afterwards. Thank you very much, buddy. Yeah. I very much so appreciate every single one of you coming in to say hello and get around this thing that we do. It's a lot of fun, and I hope you enjoy it as well. And now to round out my time here, I will play a meme. Have a good night, everyone.
See you guys.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate
We'll see you next time.
Hey, thanks for watching the show. Have you clicked the subscribe button yet? Have you given us a thumbs up and maybe commented on the video too? Have you done that yet? Have you done it? Oh, cheers. Thanks.